Hello there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, the internet, and the like, and welcome back to Team Fortress 2. Today, we are playing with two of the new weapons added in the Love and War update, both being for the soldier. They are, of course, the airstrike, a new rocket launcher, and the base jumper, a parachute that goes in the secondary slot. To start off this video, we're going to immediately cover the airstrike, because oh my god. If you thought that the Beggar's Bazooka was a scary weapon when it first came out, this weapon is just downright terrifying. So if you're scratching your head and wondering why I've reached this conclusion, let me put it like this. Think about how the Beggar's Bazooka delivers a barrage of 3 rockets at maximum reload. Now picture 8 rockets falling from the sky, all of them tracking where it is you suddenly decide to run to in fear of being blown into tiny bits. The airstrike is no laughing matter. While the rockets themselves do deal 25% less damage than a standard rocket launcher, and notably they do have a slightly smaller explosion radius, you still will be scared at the sight of 8 of these headed straight in your direction. Now, that's not to say that this rocket launcher has a completely mindless gimmick. In comparison to the Beggars, one thing this weapon does right is that it encourages you to rocket jump. This, and I believe by surfing off of an enemy's explosive projectile, is the only way you can increase the launcher's firing speed. Standing on the ground, you're essentially firing a gimped Liberty launcher, and starting off with this weapon, you might have to consider staying grounded given the fact that you can only load 3 rockets into the clip. All this weapon asks of you is that you kill at least 5 people with it. Why this is because if you kill a single person with this weapon, you can load 1 extra rocket into the chamber. Do this a couple of times, and that's where this weapon reaches its full potential. By rocket jumping, you can then hold down the firing button and release rocket after rocket in rapid succession, all based on where you're aiming. What's different about this weapon compared to the Beggar's Bazooka is that all the rockets are in your control, depending on where you aim them. As such, if you sense a group of people approaching, you can just rocket jump, sail right above them, and unleash a crazy amount of rockets upon them. What makes this weapon more effective is the base jumper, which we're going to cover shortly. When you bring the airstrike into the battlefield, you're going to find yourself in need of a constant source of health and ammo. After playing around with this weapon for a while, I found that its effectiveness is definitely on a defensive side. When you expect a group of enemies to push, it becomes far easier to strategize where you want to rocket jump, initiate the barrage attack, and then escape to wherever your medic or an engineer's dispenser is. Considering how often you need to push on an offensive side, the airstrike can still technically be effective, but the element of surprise is usually cut off if the enemy team is guarding most of the flanking routes. It becomes increasingly difficult to utilize properly, especially if you're mostly fighting on an uphill climb. Of course, you can only do so much with the airstrike at the cost of self-inflicted rocket blasts and falling damage. Rocket jumping with this weapon is actually less painful compared to the default, and falling damage, it becomes completely negligible with the base jumper. The base jumper is, without a doubt, one of the most entertaining soldier items ever made. This item is a parachute that is activated upon hitting the jump key in mid-air. Doing this, you can open and close the chute whenever you like. If you use the default HUD, you'll probably see a small icon above your health bar appear, which will tell you if the parachute is opened. Although it is fairly noticeable when you do have it open, considering how gently you begin to descend with this thing. Just as I predicted when this item was first revealed a couple of weeks ago, yes, the parachute does give you a slightly easier time with using the Market Gardener. People with prior experience using the Gardener would probably argue that using this weapon is all about surprise, and suddenly dropping right next to somebody to land that critical hit, but the best thing about the base jumper is that you can track down whoever it is you're targeting easier than you could without it. Visualize a scene where you're jumping after an enemy medic. You think you're going to land right next to him, and then he suddenly jitters forward, unawarely moving outside of your melee range. With the parachute, you can just open it up a few feet off of the ground and float right towards where that medic is running, and you can still land that guaranteed critical hit before even touching the ground. As I said earlier, you should not concern yourself with taking falling damage. Even if you're inches above landing on a surface from a great height, you can still break your fall using the parachute. It's kind of like having the pocket pistol for the scout, except you don't take 10 times more fire damage, and it's not a pistol, it's a parachute. But it is a secondary, so there's some similarities. One final thing about the parachute, and this actually surprised me when I first discovered it, is that it is a primary equipable item for the Demo Man. Now think about that for a second. This has redefined the laws of playing Caber Demo. You don't need to sticky jump and hope that you find a target in a matter of 3 seconds flat. You can gently glide towards your victim, and even if they see you at the last second, they won't have time to react to the sudden Demo Man flying at them using the Caber and the parachute combo. It is too good of a combination. In the end, I think I could say that these two weapons are acceptable. They both have their positives and negatives. The combination of both is a slightly overbearing on the enemy team, but I'm sure that if enough people complain, Valve will act upon it immediately and nerf these weapons so much that they'll be completely ignored in about a week's time. Until then, thank you guys very much for watching, have a great day or evening, and I guess I will see you in the next video.